Right now on Sports Extra, dogs on top. What a day it was in Athens on Saturday as Georgia proved why they should be the #1 team in the country. We're breaking down the dogs' biggest game of the year so far. Meanwhile, the Falcons faltered on Sunday with another fourth quarter collapse. What went wrong for the Dirty Birds? Plus, it was another good week for the Hawks. And DeJounte Murray, who continues to shine. What can he do? Jam-packed Sports Extra coming your way right now. Yes, sir. Welcome on into Sports Extra, everybody. I'm Reggie Chapman. Thank you for staying up late with us tonight. The Falcons, well, they're back to being the Falcons, but we'll get to them in a minute because college football fans across the country were glued to Athens this weekend for an historic matchup at SANFORD Stadium. Let's get right into it and allow me to direct your attention to this. Complete domination for the Georgia Bulldogs against the #1 team, according to the college football playoff rankings, but I have a feeling it won't look the same on Tuesday. And a big part of that, the insanity of the crowd. It was so loud inside SANFORD Stadium. It caused 7 false starts from the Vols, and the Georgia players, they love to see it.
Yeah, I mean, good Lord, they were loud, weren't they? Oh, that was awesome. It helped so much. It helped us ride the momentum wave, and you know it hurt them because they couldn't communicate as well.
A great feeling, honestly, just having all of Georgia behind you, just 9,000 plus fans behind you, as well as your coaches and your players, man. Just, like, who else wouldn't have confidence behind them if you know that that the entire state's behind you, and also your coaches and all of Dog Nation.
I'll tell you, that was the first time I had seen it that loud inside of that stadium. So it's a couple guys we can talk about it with. We got home team Brandon Lee from 6A to the Fan and making his Sports Extra return. Paul Meharry from UGAsports.com. Guys, big win for the Dogs this upcoming weekend. It's very clear that the crowd had a big impact. Home team, you were also in the building. Tell people what it was like.
It was deafening. They got started at the tailgates, and then Dog Nation made their way into SANFORD Stadium on time to make sure they were properly placed, and everything they did had impact on the game. They fantastically got there, immediately started causing false starts, immediately started causing confusion for Tennessee, and the bottom line is those things over time, along with Kirby Smart's defense, accumulated into a win. Rocky Top became Rocky Slop, and that's because the Dog Nation showed up. They can tell you, you see on the internet, you can take people's word for it, or you can mess around and find out. Tennessee messed around, and they found out Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, too many people were talking about how that crowd maybe wasn't loud. And I haven't seen it that loud for that long.
Yeah.
I mean, since I've been here, and it's been a long time. For more of an historical perspective, where do you kind of see this crowd matching up to other crowds?
Yeah, I mean, Reggie, I think 2013, right? 2013 LSU Georgia is the game everybody talks about, right? It's the one that says, oh, I was there. That crowd was extremely loud. Well, guess what, folks? I had friends. Reggie was there. Home team was there. This game was louder, and it caused commotion. Like home team said, 7 false starts. It's unheard of, and you could hear it through the TV. You could hear it. Gary Danielson's mic had to get turned up a little bit, unfortunately, and you know, we had to listen to it at home as well. It was crazy.
I mean, just an unbelievable atmosphere. I was standing next to Maria Martin on the field right around the game was ending, and I turned her, I was like, yo, it's really loud. And she's like, what? And it wasn't a joke. It felt like a joke, but it was unbelievable just how loud it felt on the field. Now, mind you, it helps when you've got a front 7 and a defense that you have. Paul, I mean, that front 7, Jalen Carter got to come back. The defense finished with 6 sacks, 8 tackles for loss. I mean, how big is it having him come back, and how much of a statement was it for this team to do this without Nolan Smith on the field?
Yeah, without Nolan Smith on the field, that's the big part, because you look at a guy who has been Georgia's backbone since he got to Athens. Nolan Smith is that guy, and to have Jalen Carter come back and play the way that he did, 2 forced fumbles, 1 in the end zone right here where, you know, they didn't call it a safety. Everybody thought it was a safety. Georgia ended up getting that touchdown afterwards, and then he just wreaked havoc the rest of the game, and having him back is going to completely change Georgia's defensive front 7 moving forward for these rest of these 3 games.
Tennessee finished with only 94 rush yards. They're a team that is physical and can run the football, but they are known for passing the ball. Hendon Hooker was the leading candidate for the Heisman coming into this game. It looked like the defense and the secondary that a lot of people questioned actually played really, really well against an offense can throw the ball really well.
Yeah, Kirby and his secondary and the coaching staff who had to really prepare everybody individually because the Dogs secondary knew they were going to have to play a lot of man coverage in this this game. They said, so what? We don't care. We have the guys recruited here who can run step for step with any wide receiver in the nation, and we're going to get a chance or two to make some big plays. Keely Ringo's play, getting the interception, stopping momentum. They kept all of the tackling in front of them and not behind them down the field. So it was a situation where the Dogs were in total control of the ball game, and even in the first half when they were looking to go up maybe with 28 points on the board, they were running clock at the end of the first half to make sure Tennessee didn't even get one more crack at it. So it's total control by the defense, by the offense, by Kirby Smart and the coaching staff in Athens Saturday.
Paul, I want to compare the quarterback play. I mean, Stetson once again came out there and played well, and this was despite the fact that he had 600 to 700 calls, hit his phone the night before because his number got leaked. I mean, how incredible was it for him to go out there and have a performance like that on a big stage like that, despite maybe not getting as much sleep as he maybe wanted to?
I don't know, Reggie. For me, I would have turned my phone off, guys.
I feel like that felt like an easy
I don't know.
hey.
That's the thing to do, right? But Stetson, you do you. And he did, right? He showed up, the whole, call me thing. It really set the mood, and everybody realized, hey, this guy, he's the leader of the Georgia football program. And it's taken this long, I think, for everybody to finally officially buy into what Stetson Bennett can do. And, I think him being 25, Hendon Hooker being 24, this might be the oldest matchup of college football quarterbacks ever, and Stetson Bennett proved that he's that guy.
Stetson Bennett, 17 for 25, 257, 2 touchdowns throwing, 1 rushing. I mean, and he was able to uncork the deep ball a couple of times as well, home team. Can we stop questioning him, please?
What is wrong with this country? What is wrong with people? When you look at a man who's 5 foot nothing, 100, 200 nothing, and he keeps winning ball games against the best competition in all of America. The man could be on a track to go back-to-back undefeated in 2 seasons, and nobody gives this guy credit. He was able to get the offense in rhythm early, hit his big shots early. Oh, by the way, run in a touchdown early and set up the team for a field goal to put points on the board as they were going into the half. This guy is what college football should be about. People who get opportunity, take the best of their opportunity, and get better as they go along. And I don't think there should be any other question about Stetson Bennett moving forward, since the man's already a national champion working on number 2.
Real quick, Paul, I wanted to ask you about this. A.D. Mitchell will come back eventually, and we'll see if that can add to what this team can really look like. How big do you think it is having him come back on the field?
If you get him back, Reggie, it's one of those things with Kirby Smart, right? It's the week-to-week thing. And he said, hey, A.D. Mitchell could have come back in the game way back when, and now we haven't seen him in 7 or 8 games. You need A.D. Mitchell back. But at the same time, Marcus Roseby-Jackson stepped up in a huge way yesterday and has continued to step up in that X position. Ladd McConkey finally got his feet underneath him. So they have wide receivers, but A.D. Mitchell changes the game in terms of college football playoff.
Yeah, I mean, it would be big to have that guy back on the field. Stetson Bennett, 29-3 in his career as a starting quarterback. He wins a lot of games, guys. I mean,
build a statue.
You just beat me to it. What does it take to get a statue? If you win a national championship, if you win 2, you go undefeated twice, maybe this guy is a little bit more special than a lot of people thought.
All right, guys, let's talk about the upcoming playoff. I mean, the playoffs when it comes down, right? We're Final Four. We talk about it every week now. Home team, I'll start with you. Your Final Four teams once the college football playoff finally gets to the end of the season.
Georgia's going.
Okay, yeah.
Ohio State is going.
Cool.
I'm going to say that USC, if they can find a way to keep their head above water, they're going. I think TCU might be that last team to get in. They do have this curse like the Pac-12 does over there in the Big 12, that there's always a Baylor, there's always a Texas, there's always a championship game lost. But I think the way TCU has played, the way they're scoring points, I think you can get some new teams and a new mix. The college football playoff ratings have gone down a tick every year. And I think in part because a lot of the same teams are showing up. And if people get a different slice of other teams around the country, maybe that'll help out this year.
Good.
Paul, do you agree? I mean, you're not a TCU believer.
No, I'm not a TCU believer. I think this Texas game versus TCU is going to knock them out. But mine has Georgia in it, Michigan, Tennessee, and Oregon. Guess what those 3 teams have in common, guys? All of their last loss would be against Georgia, Michigan in the college football playoff, Tennessee and Oregon this year. And guess what? Georgia's beat all 3 of them. I think that Michigan has a chance to finally overcome Ohio State and get in there again. Tennessee, you went out, you're in. You see their schedule's not that great. And then Oregon's really playing really good ball with Bo Nix.
I mean, Bo Nix, I've never been a Bo Nix believer. He's been playing really well since that first game. Now, I want to say my Final Four here. I had to mix it up a little bit. I got the Tennessee pick I had wrong last week. But I still think TCU is going to lose to Texas this upcoming weekend. I also have Ohio State. USC is going to get in over Oregon, and Tennessee, if they win out, like I said, is going to get in. A lot of offensive firepower. Honestly, I don't think any of these teams after this upcoming weekend have any shot against Georgia. That's just how I feel, though.
You only had one SEC team.
Yeah, well, I think LSU's going to play Georgia, and they're going to get beat.
Yeah.
And I think Georgia's beating everybody else. So, I
agree,
mean,
but
time to get somebody else in here. They're beating everybody in the SEC.
What has LSU done?
I'm just saying, I just feel like we got to let's give some respect. They won yesterday against Alabama. Some respect.
They're still undefeated, and they're still the defending champions.
Okay. All right.
Good luck.
Let's shift some gears and talk about the Falcons coming off a 2017 loss at the Benz today. All this after jumping out to a 10-0 lead before watching the lead evaporate, twice, and they lost the game on a game-winning field goal as time expired. But first, we have to react to what was the most unfortunate moment of the game. Is it seems like the Falcons are starting to feel like the Falcons again. And Paul, I mean, Taquan Graham picks up the fumble and then tries to take off and run and just fumbles the football. I mean, that's not good.
Look, here's the thing, though. These games have been fun, right, guys? We didn't think these games would have any significant when you saw the Chargers on the schedule in week, what are we, 8, 9? You didn't think this was going to be a game?
No shot.
So now we're actually playing meaningful football inside the bins. Yes, they lost, but at the same time, looking at this game, were we actually going to watch this game? I don't know. Now we are.
They've been in every game, and they're in this game, and it's just unfortunate. You can't put it on just that one play.
Right.
Younghoe Koo misses a field goal. When they got the ball with about 4 minutes to go, they had a chance to run the 4-minute offense. They go 3 and out. You have too many plays you give up on defense at the end where the Chargers just kept getting first downs and chunk plays. So obviously we're going to be talking about that fumble that just fell out of Taquan's hands, but he wasn't the reason they lost the game. The Falcons just had too many mistakes in the fourth quarter, and you can't do that, especially at home if you want to win in the NFL.
Well, I think it's interesting that you did point out the fact that, we're talking about something based on the fact that they had a chance to actually win the game. These are meaningful football games. They're actually in these games with a chance to win them, and that's not something that maybe that we expected at this point of the year.
I think Arthur Smith deserves a lot of credit.
Yeah.
He's shown that he can coach, and until they can get the players, all of the players they want in with the salary cap, that will be revealed later in time, but they certainly can coach, and they have a formula that is keeping this team very competitive Sunday after Sunday.
Paul, I want to ask you about the defense. They had them locked down, or the Chargers, for the first couple of drives. They're up 10-0, and then Chargers had 14 unanswered. What kind of went wrong? Do you think it's just the fact that they don't have corners that can guard anybody right now?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is.
There you go.
You hit it. So there goes all my talking points. But no, it's the corners, it's the defenders. That secondary is just not where you want to be right now if you're the Falcons. But at the same time, guys, we're talking about a 53-man roster, which probably has 40 or so guys on it on one-year contracts. This wasn't supposed to be a competitive team, and Justin Herbert's a really good quarterback. Here they are, last-second field goal where, like home team said, Koo had a chance to kick that field goal, and we could have been talking about a different game.
I mean, you got guys that are going to come back in that secondary,
Yeah.
so they're in a good position. I do want to talk about a guy that came back today, home team, Cordell Patterson, back on the field today, and he looked
a grown
good.
Man.
And what happens? You go over 200 yards rushing again. I mean, the bottom line is he is the bell cow, and I think the biggest thing that may help the Falcons at the end of the season is when Cordell Patterson was out, you found that a lot of guys can be a part of the running game. So if he is going to be your bell cow, he got that monster touchdown where he just
Ran over a guy.
Ran over
man
Drew
into
Tranquill.
the end zone. That's the kind of football that Arthur Smith wants to play. And so that kind of energy, being able to do that at the goal line, red zone has been a problem forever for the Falcons. And so if you can clean those up, take those small wins even in defeat, you can know how you can proceed next time you're out on the football field and have a pretty good sense that you still will be running the football.
You got to feel pretty good. I mean, the guys that got a chance to step over while he was not there, I mean, Tyler Algier had 99 today. Caleb Huntley had 24. I mean, Cordell, of course, 13 carries, 2 touchdowns. I mean, they have to feel good about that running game considering that's what they like to do. All right, coming up next, we head to the hardwood where DeJounte Murray just keeps impressing us for the Hawks. All that and more coming up after the commercial break. All right, welcome back, everybody. Let's talk some Hawks basketball. It was a good week for the Hawks, picking up wins over the Knicks. An exciting overtime win last night against the Pelicans at home. Look, we're 3 weeks into the season so far. It's a small sample size. Paul, I want to ask you, how are you feeling about this Hawks team so far in the season?
Looks good. I mean,
Right?
Dejounte Murray's filling in great. He's leading the team in assists. You got Trae Young looking like a baller out there with glasses on, getting hit in the eye. I mean,
fresh.
Yeah,
He only needs one eye.
Yeah, looking real clean. And then you've got John Collins, Clint Capella, DeAndre Hunter. I mean, what else do you need? You need a bench, though. I'll leave that to you guys.
Yeah, when Bogey comes back, Bogdan Bogdanovic, I think that'll be a big help. they've had a game where they didn't have anybody on the bench score until the third quarter. I think the biggest thing for the Hawks now, unlike last year, they are winning games they should not lose. Last year they lost games they had no business losing. So that will help them at the end of the season when you go through rough patches in the season and winning the games you're supposed to, particularly at home.
Hawks were without Trae Young for a little bit Wednesday night after getting clocked in the eye, but DeJounte stepped up with a career-high 36. He also had a triple-double for the first time in a Hawks uniform the other day. We keep talking about him, but he keeps continuing to show up in these big games, home team. I mean, how great has the trade been for this team?
It's perfect, and now he's gotten himself a wingman. Trae Young and DeJounte Murray are going to create a difficult situation in the postseason. They're going to create a lot of pressure on guys to make a decision, and one of those guys is always going to be able to go one-on-one. So Trae Young is doing exactly what he has been promised to do. He is still the leader of this team, and now he has a very good wingman that can help him and the Hawks navigate through some tough times when they get here in the playoffs.
We're not talking about him a lot because there's so much star power on this team, but CLINT CAPELA has been a real rock in this organization. 19 boards from him last night. Paul, how important is it to be able to have a guy in the middle that can kind of sure things up, pull down rebounds, and get this team rolling?
Yeah, with Trae Young and Murray both being kind of smaller guards, you need that big guy inside, and that's exactly what CAPELA does. He helps him out. We talked about it, 19 boards last night. This guy just gets it done, doesn't ask for the ball on the offensive side, so you can get Trae the ball, you can get Murray the ball, and feed those other guys, and he just does his work down there. He's like a garbage man, picking up.
This feels like we're getting real into the weeds, but he's also a really good screener, which is really important for a roster that has those guards like that. But this team has a tough slate of games upcoming. Bucks tomorrow night at a home against the Sixers as well. I mean, they've got some big games coming up here, home team. How important, or what do you kind of expect as they're going up against teams that they could potentially see in the playoffs?
Well, I mean, they've shown when they went to Milwaukee, they were scrapping along and things didn't go out of their way. They just had a big win against the Pelicans, and that was a team that was rolling. So they're right there. They're the weaknesses of the Hawks right now are the bench and just what the adjustments and what the reinforcements are going to be. Doesn't mean that there won't be changes to the team later in the season. Maybe a tougher guy. You do need a little bit more presence. CLINT CAPELA, what he does at the rim offensively, sometimes he's not one of those go-to guys. But right now, they don't have to be afraid or substandard or feel like they are subpar to anybody in the NBA.
Oh, those are some good-looking glasses on him, huh?
Might give me a pair.
All righty, let's switch some gears and actually do it literally. As we're talking about NASCAR, Sunday marked the end of the NASCAR season with the final race held at Phoenix in the NASCAR Cup Series Championship. So it came down to this. The final four drivers, Dawsonville's Chase Elliott, Joey Logano, Christopher Bell, and Ross Chastain, looking for the title. Chase Elliott was having a decent race until he was clipped by Chastain and spun out. Elliott obviously not happy about that one, forced to the back of the pack. From there, it was all about Joey Logano, who holds on to win the NASCAR championship. His second ever. Chase Elliott unofficially finished in 28th. Alrighty, coming up next, Maria Martin and our Falcons insider Scott Barrett join the show for an in-depth look at what went wrong for the Falcons this afternoon.
What's up, everybody? Maria Martin here with our Falcons insider Scott Barrett. Scott, after a really frustrating loss by the Falcons, 20-17 to the Chargers, and it was a game I think that Atlanta probably should have won, especially given the fact that off the top, the Falcons offense, it looked really good. They were super efficient, and then it kind of fell off a little bit. What's your assessment of that?
They were good on offense and defense.
Yeah.
They were getting third and short stops on defense. We saw that run game really get after it. But in the second quarter, things shifted. The momentum changed, and all of a sudden you go into that halftime break and the Falcons are down 14-10. It didn't make a lot of sense. I felt like there were a lot of missed opportunities there, and as we've seen in this game, every point matters. They left too many on the field in the first half.
You said missed opportunities. That was really the two words that Arthur Smith kind of honed in on in his post-game press conference, because there were so many of those. And you're talking about the one specifically on offense. There's a few that stick out in my mind, and quite a few were to Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts aside, this offense, the pass game looks a little not in sync. What do you think about the pass game?
I think it's definitely disjointed, and it really seems like if the Falcons aren't able to stay on schedule on first and second down, and they're forced into those third and long situations where everyone knows that you're going to throw, that's when they really struggle. So they didn't connect on deep shots, which a couple of those, Maria, gotta have them, right? Gotta have them, didn't have them, ultimately costly. And I think that's something that's gonna have to get fixed in a hurry, because they're seeing so many 8- and 9-man boxes.
Sure.
They have to be able to keep defenses honest. They didn't do enough of that against the Chargers, and I think it cost them dearly.
Yeah, missed opportunities for sure. Let's switch to the defensive side of the football, because everybody knows knows Justin Herbert is a fantastic quarterback, right? They also had a couple of their backup receivers in there that were testing the Falcons secondary, but the Falcons really on third down, specifically on defense, really weren't on point today. What do you think about the third down defense heading into especially the second half of the game?
I mean, 8 for 16 is a bad percentage overall. I think the difficult thing as you're watching this game play out is they weren't converting 3rd and 2 or 3rd and 3 or 3rd and short or even manageable.
Yeah.
They were converting 3rd and 10. There was a point where LA had a 1st and 25 and still converted.
Yeah.
And those are the types of situations where you have to get stops, you have to get off the field. And again, there's a common theme here, right? They didn't do well enough for long enough, and that ultimately hurt them. Consistency has been the major issue for this team all season. It was a major issue in this game.
Yeah, and this is a team that wants to win the division, and in order to do that, the missed opportunities cannot be there. They got to clean it up quick, too. We'll get to Carolina in a little bit. Let's talk about that weird sequence that included Taquan Graham near the end of the game. Yeah. Poor Taquan, because you can't really blame a defensive lineman for trying to make a play and dropping the football. He even said, maybe I'll switch the gloves and get him sticky. I don't know. Yeah. So, you can't blame Taquan there, but that sequence, what the heck?
Yeah, it was really a very strange one because they got a turnover, then they lost one, and then the Chargers were out of field goal range, then they were in it, then the Falcons lost the game all within 45 seconds. And that's one of those things where shoulda, woulda, coulda, right? If he just gets down, or if this happens, then the Falcons come out of it with a win. We've seen all season, one score game after one score game. It comes down to 1 or 2 plays, and I'm sure the Falcons and their young defensive linemen would love to have that play back.
Falcons checking fans' pulses everywhere really quickly. They got Carolina on Thursday. You got about 20 seconds to tell me what they need to do to flip the page come Thursday night.
They really have to make corrections and find a way to get this passing game in sync. We don't even know who Carolina's quarterback is going to be, so there is some uncertainty. They know this opponent. Richie Grant called it a must-win, and I agree with him.
Ooh, it's going to be such a good one in Carolina. For Scott Bair and Maria Martin, you guys, thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the other side of this break.
All right, final block of the show. It's our video of the week, and it goes to Justin Fields. The local product, the former UGA Dog, ran for a whole bunch of yards today. 178, a new quarterback record in the NFL. Paul, how good is it to see a guy that struggled so early in his career really start to find a stride?
Would have loved to have seen this at UGA, wouldn't we, Reggie?
Okay, all righty, okay.
Harrison High School product, guys. Local kid, love to see it. Guess what, though? The Bears GM was seeing C.J. Stroud, the Ohio State quarterback. Now, guess what? He's looking good, though.
Sky's the limit for the kid. You wish nothing but the best for him. Only thing is he broke a Falcon record. That was Mike Vick's record for 173 yards when he beat the Vikings. Now Marcus Mariota needs to run for 179.
We'll see if we can do it. Guys, thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you guys next week on Sports Extra.